Hello.
Hi.
Welcome back, everyone.
Welcome. So today we have one that I've been seeing like a lot of people talk about recently, and I'm like, what is that? I've never even heard of it. My millennial self was like, I've never heard of this before.
To be honest, I did not hear about it either
Yeah.
until now.
Yeah. I mean,
Until we wrote up the episode about it.
so we're going to be talking about imposter syndrome.
Yeah.
Yeah. And before we get into that, we got some new Patreon members that we need to shout out.
Yes, I know. Thank you for everyone that has been subscribing to our Patreon. It really helps out the podcast in general.
Yeah.
For all our equipment,
Yeah.
all
Subscriptions.
everything. Yeah, subscriptions.
Because monthly we have to be paying like all the subscriptions for our our
For our
recording
software.
editing
Yeah.
software, on and on and on.
Yeah.
And you guys make it possible.
Yes.
And because of that, you get a full episode every
Yes.
Friday morning.
So on top of our podcast, you'll get an extra exclusive episode.
Yeah.
Julie and I have been trying to kind of tease out there the Patreon episodes.
Yeah.
So here and there, we'll be releasing Patreon episodes onto the podcast so y'all can see what a Patreon
Get a
episode
feel.
kind of looks like and what you'll get.
Like for instance, a recent one that we did that for was MK Ultra, and so far people have really liked it.
Yeah.
And I'm like, well, then subscribe because we got a lot more in there. Because
know.
I mean, we feel a little bit more
We have a
loose.
total of how many episodes on there?
I think it's gonna be like 40, if not.
Yeah, we're in our 40s in there.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
if you subscribe, you'll get access to all
of those.
videos. It's not
All of those.
that when you subscribe, then you'll only get the ones that come out new. So you'll have access to all of those.
All of those. Yup. And also, if you want to just dip your toe first and not really commit yet for Patreon, you really want to see what we're talking about, you can, because when you subscribe, the first 7 days are free.
Yeah.
It's a trial membership. So you could do that if
And
it's
see if
for
you like
you.
it.
Great. And if you want to keep going and help us out and whatever, that's your choice, and you can keep going.
Yeah.
So, but you have that leniency. You don't have to pay up front. But anyways, so let's thank our new Patreon members. You want to
Yes.
go ahead and
Thank you so much. All right. So thank you, Emily Lopez. Katrina, you're the bomb. Mike, thank you. Anna Diaz, you're the best. Jose Martinez, bomb.
thank you guys. And I did say that any new Patreon members, we will be shouting them out.
Yeah.
So you tell us, and if you don't want to shout out, send me a message. And it's fine. We don't. As you saw here, some people only put their first name, or you could put, Petunia. I don't care. Whatever it is,
Poppy.
Yeah, who cares? So yeah, but we'll be shouting you out just to say thank you. Anyway, so all right. So let's start off the episode, Imposter Syndrome.
Okay.
Let's go.
So imagine that you're at work, you've just nailed a big project, and everyone's patting you on the back. But instead of basking in the glory, you're thinking, oh, no, they're going to find out that I'm a fraud. Yeah,
That's it.
that's it.
That's exactly it.
So this is that's a little bit of a glimpse of imposter syndrome. So what is imposter syndrome? Imposter syndrome is like having a little gremlin on your shoulder whispering, you're not good enough.
Yeah, pretty much.
Do I have that?
I think a lot of people have that. And I
thought that was just called insecurity.
I know. I for sure had that. And then I'm like, there's an actual term for it.
Wow.
That people, talk about in therapy and whatever. We'll get into that.
Yeah. So even if you're a person that you've gotten all these awards and you're very successful, you always have like this little whisper in your brain saying you're not good enough. So it's a psychological phenomenon where people doubt their accomplishments and have persistent fear of being exposed as a fraud despite evidence of their competence. Okay. So do you want to do the history?
Sure.
Cool.
So yeah, where did this start from? Because again, we had not heard of this.
Yeah.
So the term imposter phenomenon was first coined in 1978 by psychologists Pauline Rose Clance and Suzanne Imes, or Imez. I'm gonna go with Imes. Sounds more American. She may not be American, but okay, stop with the tangents. They noticed that many high achieving women felt like they were fooling everyone about their abilities. Since then, we've learned that imposter syndrome doesn't discriminate. It can affect anyone, regardless of gender, age, or profession. So the initial study that Clance and Imez conducted, their research on 150 women who were either PhD students, respected professionals, or students recognized for their academic success. Despite their success and their praise and the praise that they received, these women believed that they were not truly intelligent and had only achieved their success through luck or by deceiving others into thinking that they were more capable than they actually were, which is just horrible, but we've all been there. Like, honestly, unless you're a full-blown narcissist, we've been there.
Yeah.
You know? So the researchers identified two main family patterns that contributed to these feelings of fraudulence. First one being the quote unquote smart sibling dynamic. Some women grew up with a sibling who was labeled as quote unquote as the intelligent one. And then these women felt driven to prove their own intelligence because they never felt validated, no matter how many achievements they racked up. The second one is overly praised childhood. So other women were excessively praised of their abilities in childhood. And then when they encountered challenges later in their lives, they doubted their abilities and felt their earlier praise was unearned. Then the societal influences that Clance and Imez found, they also noted that societal messages played a significant role. At the time, women were often told either directly or indirectly that they did not belong in high-powered or intellectual roles. The societal bias contributed to their feelings of being imposters. So then the evolution of this concept, initially Clance and Imez, I'm going to go with that. It just,
Julie has this ongoing battle in her brain since the first time she said that name. She's like, Imez, Imes, Imez. I'm going to say Imez. I'm going to say Imes.
Yeah, I
can't.
can't.
Because Imes is American.
Imposter syndrome.
You're not pronouncing the name good enough.
No. My brain's like, you
good
freaking
enough.
idiot.
Imes is fine.
Yeah.
Brownie agrees.
Yeah, exactly. Anyway, Imez. I'm sticking with that one.
Okay, so we're on Imez. Okay.
We're just gonna end it with Imez now.
Okay.
I'm going with that. Don't yell at me. Or if you do, I don't care. Focused on women.
I'm like, focus, Julie. Focus.
I can't.
Guys, she's in the middle of a move right now.
Oh, I got a lot going on in this brain. Like it's a lot. Like if you guys don't want to see this room, it just looks very normal behind me.
She's like hyper fixated on her name.
Yeah.
It's kind of funny. I'm just letting her roll with it.
I think it's like my brain is just like hyper fixated on something, anything but the mess.
Yeah, exactly.
That you're living on. Anyway, so I mean, my hands are sweaty now. Anyway, so,
she's literally having a physical reaction.
I am. Anyway, okay. So, and the coffee is not helping.
I know.
I'm just like feeling it. I'm feeling it.
I'm riding this wave. I'm riding this wave. I'm letting you do you.
We're trying to record a batch of episodes today. This is going to be great. I don't know what's going to happen.
I have a good feeling about today.
This is only the first one of the day. So let's go. Anyway, so initially, Clance and Imez focused on women, but subsequent research had shown that imposter syndrome can affect anyone regardless of gender, age, or background. Over the years, the term imposter phenomenon has evolved into imposter syndrome. Although some experts, including Clance and Imez, prefer the original term because syndrome implies a medical disorder, which it's not. So broader implications about this, the phenomenon has been widely studied and is now recognized as affecting a broad range of people, including men and members of minority groups. It is linked to various negative outcomes such as anxiety, depression, and burnout. Despite its prevalence, imposter syndrome is not classified as a clinical disorder or in the diagnostic manuals like the DSM or ICD codes. So, yeah, that's where this all came from. So
I wonder if it will potentially become one.
Maybe, because I mean,
I think that if you have this, then I think they would consider this like maybe some sort of personality disorder.
Right.
I'm sure that we can place an imposter syndrome person into some sort of personality disorder.
Probably.
And not to say that, I'm not trying to bash on that person, but if you grow up, imagine growing up, like one of our examples was that you weren't the intelligent one.
Right.
But I'm going to say, in my family, I was not the intelligent one. And they were very verbal about it. And the worst part is when the teachers would tell my parents, she's so smart. She's just not applied. And then in my mind, I was always like, that's like a nice way of telling my parents that I'm just fucking up. God. And it's so funny Because I get moms like all the time.
Yeah,
and they're
yeah.
like, the teachers are like telling me that he's so smart
Yeah.
and she's so smart, but she's just not, you know, as a,
And you're like,
in my
I
mind,
get
I'm like,
it.
I get it.
I get it. Been there.
That was me.
Like, I've been there, girl.
Yeah. So my dad at my white coat ceremony was just so, he was like, thank God.
Oh my God.
He's like, we made it.
Why?
I just wasn't applauded. I was not the intelligent one.
Who was the intelligent one?
Victor, 100%.
Really?
Yeah, and Eric, for sure.
If you would have told me Eric, I'd be like, yeah, okay, I
Yeah,
get that.
yeah.
But like,
Girl, I was just...
because
it
I
was
feel like Victor
bad.
is you, but in male form. So
No, he's not. He has a part of me in male form, but Victor's personality, at least like education-wise, is very different from mine. Very different. That's a whole entire story for another episode. But anyways, yeah, it's actually really funny. I'm like reading, you know,
Yeah.
I was like reading the show notes, and I'm like, man, I ducked the imposter syndrome. Like, I've had all the risk factors. Just kidding.
yeah.
I'm just kidding. My parents always like told me that I was great at other things.
Oh my God.
Okay, well, anyways. All right, so I'm going to start on the symptoms.
This is all you.
Yeah. Okay, so how do you know if you're dealing with an imposter syndrome?
You're
Here
like, oh my God, you were reading this and you were like,
Yeah, I know. I was like, I'm like, man, I like really just, like just imposter syndrome like flew over me. Yeah. So how do you know if you're dealing with imposter syndrome? Here are some telltale signs. Self-doubt. Check. Okay, self-doubt. Constantly questioning your abilities and feeling like you're not as competent as others as you think you are. The other one can be attributing success to luck.
Check.
Believing that your achievements are due to luck or external factors, not your own skills. Okay, that's like partial check for me.
Yeah,
okay?
it's a partial check.
That's a partial check. Okay, fear of failure.
Check.
Yeah, check. Big check mark.
Nike
check. Being terrified of making mistakes because you think it will expose you as a fraud. Okay, wait a minute. The second part of the sentence is not a big check for me.
Yeah.
I thought it was just gonna say like just anxiety of failing.
Yeah, exactly.
But like, who doesn't have that? You know,
Right.
Like, I don't have that personality to just take a risk. You know.
Yeah, but a lot of people do.
Yeah, for sure. I'm like getting anxiety just thinking about it. Overworking, putting in extra hours to make sure no one finds out you're incompetent. Okay, so this is where I'm straying away. This is where I'm straying away from the imposter syndrome.
That one's a massive check for me.
Really?
Oh yeah,
Julie, are you dealing with
overworked.
imposter
Oh,
syndrome?
100%. After
No,
writing
but
these notes,
Jules-
I'm like,
Jules, no, you're not putting in extra hours to make sure no one finds out you're incompetent.
well, like it's feeding that little gremlin voice inside of you, but you're useless.
We gotta talk later. We gotta talk later.
You gotta keep working. You gotta study for a month ahead. Remember?
Yeah. Julie didn't have that. Okay, but it wasn't. But okay, but like it wasn't because you were fraud.
Right, but
That's
it
a
makes
big
you,
difference
but,
here.
But that little voice in your head.
Yes, but that's not
says,
imposter syndrome. No, that's just your insecurities.
Oh yeah, 100%. But this is like
Yeah.
based on that, though.
Yeah.
Think about it.
No, but these are for people that are frauds.
She is.
No,
She
I
is
want.
determined that I am not.
You're not a fraud.
Like, but again, like, what it's saying, it's not. You're not a fraud, and that's what.
Can
these-
you hang out with a fraud and have a cup of coffee? Probably, because you have.
yes. Right.
Well, you're not a fraud.
I know, I get that, but like what Clance and Amaz did, like they went with these really, really competent women, like PhDs and the likes and whatever, and they really thought that they were frauds, and they were like these really accomplished.
Oh, wait a minute.
Women.
So fraud.
They believe
so
it, but it's not
impost-
true. That's
So-
what it is. They believe. That's why it's like that little gremlin voice telling you you're a fraud, but you're not.
Okay. I thought that this was someone
no.
was actually a fraud.
No. That's just an asshole. No. Imposter syndrome is, and that's what the whole studies that they were conducting on these very, very high accomplished, very intelligent women, but they still believed that they
That
were
not good
enough.
Huh.
That's why I'm like, check, 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 check.
Oh, no, now I'm having anxiety. Maybe I do have this.
Oh, I have it 100%. Because again, it's like the very first clip, little snippet that we said in the beginning, that it's that stupid little gremlin in the back of it saying, you're a fraud. You're not, but there's that asshole in your brain saying that you are.
This is terrible. Who came up with this shit?
Clans in a mess.
God damn it, Mez. God damn it.
All right.
Oh, man. Okay. The imposter cycle.
Here we go.
Oh my God. I'm going to self-diagnose my,
Yeah, you are. God. I did, and I'm no doctor, but I definitely did writing this out.
All right. So here's an example. You have a huge presentation coming up, right? You either procrastinate, that would be me, until last minute, or you over-prepare. That would be Julie, okay? It's so crazy how we know each other's personalities.
100%.
So when it goes well, you think, whoof, I got lucky. And then the cycle starts all over again. It's so funny, guys. So Julie and I, when we were in college, Jules would be in that library like 2 weeks before an exam.
Immediately.
2 weeks before.
Yeah.
Yvette came strolling in, okay, maybe 2 nights max before the exam. And I just procrastinated.
You would pull the all-nighter.
And I would pull the all-nighter.
Yeah.
And then I would pull the sleep 2 hours, wake up at a ridiculous time at 3 o'clock in the morning to study again. And then Jules would be walking out of the library all packed. Okay.
So you guys have an exam tomorrow?
Yeah. See you in the exam tomorrow. And I'm like preparing to sleep at the library.
Well, she was like, how are you leaving? The first time I ever did that with you around. You're like, how are you already leaving? I'm like, girl,
Julie's packing up, and I'm looking side to side, and I'm like, where's she going?
Yeah, and I'm like,
we have a test tomorrow.
The last 2 days before an exam are pretty much my review days.
Yeah,
like I go over everything, make sure that I'm not.
I'm going over things for the first time.
I'm going everything over the 50th time. This is the first time.
I truly think that it was part of my ADHD. Like I could not focus for 2 weeks.
Yeah.
I just had I had like a little like charge of energy, and I focused all my energy in those 2 days.
Yeah.
And then like that last bit was just coffee.
Yeah. Yeah.
From that Starbucks that sucked the life away from me at the bottom of the FIU library.
It sucked the life out of all of us.
Is it still there?
I think so.
That's an iconic. We should go and take pictures.
Yeah, we should go like even for Patreon or whatever.
Yeah, and just
Anyway, tangent. There we go.
Yeah, there was a tangent.
But yeah, that's very different.
Yeah, and then so I would get out of the test, right? And then I would score a great score, and I was like, I lucked out of that one. Yeah. And Jules would score a great score and be like, I didn't prepare enough.
Yeah, exactly. You see what I mean?
And she'd get a great score.
But still, I was just like, I don't know.
And Julie would ask me, she's like, how the fuck do you do that? And I'm like, how the fuck do you do that?
My anxiety would eat me alive if I left it for the end. That's the thing. It's all anxiety driven. That's why I had to
don't worry, that all changed
there.
when I got to med school. When I got to med school, I realized that I could not do the 2 nights before.
You and Mario.
I was studying 3 weeks before, and I was still pulling all-nighters the night before.
That's exactly you and Mario. Because Mario was the same way as you in FIU and all that stuff. And then he got to med school. He's like, that's not going to work.
That's not going to work. Yeah, I learned the hard way. My first exam.
So did he. I think a lot of you guys do. It's just part of the,
Yeah, it's so crazy. Like, you think you know how to study.
And then
you go somewhere else and you're like, oh, there's a whole new world. Okay, exactly. So who's at risk for imposter syndrome? Imposter syndrome can pretty much affect anyone.
Yeah.
But it's especially common in high pressure environments like academia, medicine, and tech. Wow. It's speaking to me. I literally feel
attacked.
Exactly. I am not well right now. I'm not well. Okay.
Oh my God, this episode is unhinged.
Studies show that it's prevalent among women, minorities, and people in male-dominated fields. Julia, that's you. Did you write this for me?
No.
I am literally.
There's a lot of podcasters and stuff like that go through
medicine. I'm not in tech. I don't know about the podcast if this is considered tech, but
soon you might with AI going into medicine. We might.
Literally, women, minority, and people in male-dominated fields.
Literally, you.
My God, I'm gonna need a therapy session after this.
You are.
Even the great Albert Einstein, okay, reportedly felt like he was an imposter sometimes.
You see what I mean? This is a perfect example of what I'm saying. It's not that you are a fraud. You feel like you are a fraud. And it just happens
Okay, well, I don't feel like I'm a fraud. So I think that's the
Yeah.
only thing that I can say to myself that I'm like, I don't feel like a fraud.
maybe fraud is like too much of a
No,
of an
but I do,
extreme.
no, but I
it's
do
like
feel like there are women out there that really, women and men, there
Yeah.
are people out there that truly do not know like how brilliant they are.
exactly this.
Yeah.
That is imposter syndrome to the T.
The
Like
only
that they are
difference
just
that is like me here is that I know when I'm not brilliant at something. And I will say straight up.
yeah.
Like, I'll be like, I can't comment on that because I don't know what the fuck I'm talking about. Okay. But the shit that I do know, I do know.
Okay.
You know?
Okay.
So, and I like, pecho, you know, like I will go and attack it. And people have told me that they're like, Evie, you're like very confident.
I don't know,
Anyways,
but
I feel assaulted. Great. Okay, moving on.
I didn't know that this episode was gonna trigger you
No,
this hard.
I feel like Julie set me up. She set me up.
I thought you even knew about
She
this.
was like, Evie's gonna have a realization,
No,
like an epiphany on the show, and I'm gonna record it.
I mean, I knew that I had this. I'm like, this is me since forever, you know, and I'm an only child. I didn't have like, you know, the sibling rivalry or anything. I'm just
The only
fucked up in the head, but
the only thing that I can say is that I don't think that I have like this imposter syndrome is because when like someone tells me like, oh, you must be so smart, I'm like, I work my ass off.
yeah.
Okay, like studying,
Yeah.
you know, and practicing and going to
Right.
work and
Right.
working 80-hour weeks.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
you do become a professional at what you do every
Right.
single day. But I think that's the only thing. But everything else is literally trying to look me in the eye and I'm ignoring them. Okay, so what's the science behind it?
Yeah.
It's not a diagnosable mental disorder, but it's linked to anxiety, depression, and burnout. It's often fueled by personality traits like perfectionism and neuroticism. Yeah, you know, that's it. That is not a check for me. I am not a perfectionist.
Super check for me.
I am not I'm not neurotic about things, as well as external factors like family expectations and social media. You know me and social media. I don't know.
It's like not.
That's not a thing for me. Family expectations. Well, I don't think my family really expected much from me, but
Oh my god.
it's so true. Like, I'm being honest. You know, I just wasn't that kid. I wasn't the kid that was like great at school. Like, I wasn't. And like, I know that there's many others like me too.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
not everyone has to have this like perfect,
Oh,
you
I
know,
wasn't.
like school, high school, university.
I barely
like,
made it out of high school.
yeah. That's what I'm
Barely.
saying. So-
Like barely. Because I hated my high school. So I was just like to my high school. I did nothing. The fact that I graduated is like miraculous. Then I went to college and I'm just like,
okay, I found something that I like doing.
I'm
Exactly,
in.
yeah.
And then, you know.
And then that's it. That's exactly what happened to me. And
Oh.
I think that's very normal. And I think
Like,
that's
fuck
why
this
a lot of
place,
magnet
yeah.
schools exist now for high
Right.
schoolers.
Yeah.
Because
Yeah.
it's not traditional to just go and like everything. So maybe there's
Yeah.
a magnet of something that you are naturally attracted to.
Right.
And then they can kind of like help you flourish in that.
Yeah.
Okay, so Jules is going to talk about how to
Tackle it. All right. So obviously therapy and counseling. So cognitive behavioral therapy, we've talked about it in other episodes like many, many times, aka CBT. It helps individuals identify and challenge negative thought patterns, irrational beliefs, and cognitive distortions that fuel this imposter syndrome. Through CBT, people learn to reframe their self-perception and develop a more realistic and positive view of their abilities and their accomplishments. Then there's psychodynamic therapy, and then this approach explores the unconscious patterns, past experiences, and unresolved conflicts that may contribute to imposter syndrome. By gaining insight into root causes, individuals can develop self-awareness and work through underlying issues that perpetuate this imposter syndrome and the feelings with it. And then you have group therapy. Joining a support group or participating in group therapy can be highly beneficial.
I'm sorry.
What happened?
I just want to be a fly on the wall
Yeah.
for a imposter syndrome group therapy.
Bro, I love it.
What?
I would, because then I'd be like, I'm not alone.
Can you imagine just everyone sitting in a circle and being like,
We suck.
I'm shit. Yeah.
Yeah, we suck. That's literally what I go sit down and be like, hi everyone. All right, I'm here. I suck. That would be my first thing to say. I'm being very vulnerable in this episode right now.
I'm Julie and I suck ass. Cool.
Can we explore that? What do you suck ass in? I'm like, everything.
Everything.
Yeah.
I'm a writer. I am published. I'm a researcher. I've graduated. I run a podcast, but I suck ass. All right, thanks. No one tried to convince me otherwise.
Next. Yeah. Literally. That would be it. I'm being very, very vulnerable with you all in this episode, okay? So don't come at me, people.
I mean, this is like kind of like the point of like the podcast. It's something like very airy. It's light. It's funny.
Yeah, it is what it is. Anyway, so yeah, sharing these experiences with others who face similar struggles can help normalize imposter syndrome feelings, reduce isolation, and provide a sense of community and validation. So it could be good.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then you got self-help strategies. So mindfulness and self-compassion. Practicing mindfulness and self-compassion can help individuals become more aware of their self-critical thoughts and respond to them with kindness and understanding. Techniques like meditation, journaling, and affirmations can cultivate self-acceptance and reduce the harsh self-judgment that fuels imposter syndrome. And then, of course, celebrate your successes. Keeping a record of accomplishments, positive feedback, and milestones, couldn't say that, can serve as a tangible reminder of one's capabilities and achievements. Regularly reviewing this brag book can counteract the tendency to discount or minimize your successes. It's really hard.
Yeah. And I remember when I was applying to medical schools and residencies and all that stuff, we always had to do a personal statement. And everyone would always say, use this as your opportunity to brag about yourself.
And you're like...
And I cringed.
Yeah, me too.
Cringed.
Yeah.
I was like, what do you mean?
Same.
I'm like, I don't want to brag about myself.
It's like, yeah, not my thing.
Yeah, not my thing at all.
Yep.
But,
I get that.
So imagine having a brag book.
I can't do that. That's one self-help technique here that I 100% would not be able to do.
Maybe I need to have a brag book.
Yeah.
Maybe I need to, it's like a self-help.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know, a strategy of self-help.
So seek feedback. Actively seeking constructive feedback from trusted mentors, colleagues, or supervisors can provide an objective perspective on one's strengths and areas for improvement. This can help individuals develop a more accurate self-assessment and challenge imposter beliefs. And then lastly, reframe your thoughts. So consciously reframing negative self-talk and replacing it with more realistic and positive thoughts can gradually shift one's mindset. So for example, instead of thinking, I don't deserve this, try, I worked hard and earned this opportunity, like she does.
Yeah. Wow, I'm so proud of myself.
See?
Look at that. It's like self-therapy.
Yeah, you got this.
All right. So how common is imposter syndrome? Surprisingly, it's pretty common. Okay. Just, you know, like it's like a stack of rocks like falling onto my head right now, affecting a significant portion of the population at various points in their lives. Here's some key points about its prevalence. So it is estimated that nearly 70% of people will experience imposter syndrome at least once in their lives. The phenomenon is widespread across different demographics, including gender, age, and professional backgrounds. While imposter syndrome affects both men and women, studies have shown that women, particularly those in high-achieving roles, report higher instances of imposter feelings. For example, a KPMG study found that 75% of female executives have experienced imposter syndromes during their careers. Additionally, more than half of the women, 54% to be exact, report experiencing imposter syndrome compared to 38% of men. I wonder what that is. I think I know what it is. I obviously, you know, it's like we live in a world where
very patriarchal.
Yeah, exactly.
You know, so
you know,
it kind
we
of
get paid less,
sense. Yeah,
everything.
Yeah,
so
yeah.
it's like we're constantly like
having to prove ourselves.
Exactly, we're constantly having to prove ourselves.
Yeah.
So. All right, so individuals from diverse backgrounds, including racial minorities, low-income groups, and non-native English speakers are more susceptible to imposter syndrome. This is often due to the additional pressures of systemic biases they face in academic and professional settings. Yeah. Professional settings. Imposter syndrome is usually prevalent in various professional fields, particularly those with high demands and competitive environments. For instance, a study found that 81.6% of young neurosurgeons and neurosurgery residents experience imposter syndrome. Similarly, high levels of imposter syndrome have been reported among healthcare professionals with significant associations with burnout and mental health issues. So sad.
But it's true. It's like, you guys are put through the freaking ringer. And a lot of the times it's like unfeasible. It's just like too much.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think our learning environment is not optimal. So even when we're learning, we're like or I don't want to say we, okay? Speaking from
Your experience.
my experience, sometimes I felt that it never mattered like how much I would work, how hard I would work. There was always someone ready to, like, I had to prove myself to them.
Yeah.
And it's such a toxic learning environment sometimes. And then you have people that have this and you wonder why.
That's it.
And then unfortunately, it's those same people that are like, you're so smart. Why do you think like that? And I'm like, well, how the fuck do you treat me like I'm a fucking idiot?
Exactly.
Like,
yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
Oh, it's terrible. It's like a yo-yo. Anyways. I'm good enough. I'm not good enough. I'm good enough. I'm not good enough. You know? So, all right. Sorry. PTSD here.
Yeah.
Anyways. So educational settings. Imposter syndrome is also common among students, especially those in higher education. Graduate students, college students, and medical students often report high levels of imposter feelings with prevalence rates ranging from 56 to 82% in these groups.
Literally what you were just saying.
Yeah. So workplace impact. The workplace imposter syndrome can lead to decreased job satisfaction, impaired job performance, and increased stress and burnout. It affects individuals at all levels, from entry-level employees to CEOs, and it is particularly pronounced in fields like science, pharmaceuticals, marketing, and HR.
Oh, high pressure jobs. Like very high pressure, like very, what's the word? Like, you know, that requires a lot from you. Like jobs that require a lot of your time, a lot of your effort, a lot of your sacrifices, you know, it's just,
Yeah.
So that's imposter syndrome.
That is imposter syndrome. People...
Oh, that's what I was saying before that, the door, we had one of our many like stops that. So one of the comedy podcasts that I listened to, so one of the two guys, like Joey, he says it all the time. Like, well, he's very much a big advocate for like mental health and for seeking therapy and whatever. And he says it openly, like, yeah, I have imposter syndrome, like 100%, you know? So I've been hearing it from him and from other podcasters and stuff like that. And I'm like, can I look into what this is? And then I looked into it. I'm like, well, shit, I have it too. It's a lot more common than you think. It's just people don't even know that there's a name to it.
Exactly. That's exactly what I was going to say, is that we finally gave it a name.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. And maybe you don't have imposter syndrome throughout your whole life. Maybe it's only like when you're studying or when you have this new job or when you're going through something. Maybe.
And I feel like maybe
transient.
people that are listening are probably like, this has been around for forever.
Yeah. Or like us that
I will say though, there is something that is very satisfying of giving it a name.
Oh, 100%.
Because when you give something a name,
it's validating
and you accept it, right? It's like that first part to accepting it.
And then you see that you're not alone.
You're not alone.
There's a name to it.
And if you have that acceptance and you like finally put a label on it, then maybe that is your first step to improving.
Yeah.
You know?
I agree. It's just, it makes it more official, more like you're not making this up in your head or something.
Exactly.
You know? So
exactly.
So yeah, that was today's episode. A little unhinged, very interesting too.
I love episodes like this because it's not our, you know, like your typical.
Exactly.
It's just interesting to talk about different things in medicine like this.
Absolutely.
Even though it's not considered a DSM-5 criteria and
but
all of that, there's a lot of stuff out there that never had DSM-5 and then now is part of the DSM-5.
Absolutely. So you never know.
Yeah.
But anyways, thank you guys for everything you do. Check out our Patreon, patreon.com/Funny Medicine Podcast. And check us out on all forms of social media. If you want to talk about this, talk to us about imposter syndrome. Have you felt it? Have you heard of it before? You know, all those things. Start up a conversation with us. We'd love to hear it.
Yeah.
And anywhere. You'll find us anywhere. And we'll see you on the next one.
See you later. Bye.